Welcome back to my Struggling Calathea Collection series. If you're new to the series, I am going plant by plant through my Struggling Calathea Collection that has seen a lot of turmoil and a lot of chaos, and repairing the plants as much as I can, restoring them and getting them ready to kind of regrow now that we are in the growing season. Today we're on plant 6. This is my Calathea White Tiger, and I was so excited to get this in November of 2019. These are very rare Calathea where I am, and I never really thought I would get one, so I scooped it up as soon as I saw it available. It was shipped to me, so it did go through shipping, but it wasn't a terribly large plant, it wasn't terribly small. It was in really good health, so that was what mattered, and it was doing really well up until kind of the disaster that took place in the plant room, which really took out all of my collection almost. And so again, making repairs to it. Let's talk about what's wrong with the plant. So the first thing is that it died completely back to the soil by January of this year. So when I started this series, I wasn't actually sure this plant was going to survive. I started intensely coaxing it and getting it to start growing up new growth from the center of the plant, or the center really of where the root ball is. So it's alive. That's good. So we'll start with that. It's got a lot of dead organic matter, things that have died back that need to be removed. It needs to be taken out of terracotta, but again, in the last few years, it's been hard to get some of the pots and the planters that I use for my plants. So I have one now. We're gonna get it into glazed ceramic, which I prefer, especially for variegated Calathea. Some Calathea I like in terracotta too. I was thinking about moving all of my plants into terracotta until I guess I really started getting going in this series and realizing that it would be a huge mistake to move some of them into terracotta. So glazed ceramic it is for our white tiger. I also started doing the neem oil soil drench with this plant starting in January, and it has helped fight off the infestation that kind of took over my house for a minute earlier this year. So let's get started. So here we are. This is my white tiger as of today, as you can see through my panicked hand motions. I know it's not looking the best. So you can see some of the leaves are heavily speckled. Some of them aren't. So some of these are post-spider mite infestation. Some of them are prior. So there's still some dead spider mites on the back of some of the leaves. So there's a bit of work here to do just in terms of cleaning up the plant. And so I think that the best thing to do is just start by removing all of these dead leaves. And when people ask how I get rid of a dead leaf, usually I wait for it to get to the point where I can gently tuck it away like you're seeing here. And then ones that are a little bit harder to get out, you'll see me just take my little clippers to them and remove them. I also forgot to mention that this plant got knocked over by, I think, one of the cats, so it lost some soil on one side that you can see here. Here's the new planter. This is one of the gray glazed ceramic planters that I like to use, and I'm just putting in my piece of coffee filter that I use just to keep soil in when I'm first loading the pot up. Now it's time to get this plant out of the pot, and it comes out of the pot relatively easy. However, you can see this is a pretty big kind of clump of roots and soil for a rather small plant. And because we are starting over a little bit and the soil's actually damp, I just watered, I think I'm gonna work probably the soil out of the root ball a little bit just so it can get into its new pot and have a really good fit. And here we go into the new pot. I'm gonna try to center it as much as possible based around where the new growth started, and then just start potting in from these sides. And sometimes I have to adjust it a little bit. It will shift, and I just keep trying to get it back to center as much as possible. I do find a few leaves, throughout where I realize, they're really not leaves that I'm interested in keeping. So I continue to kind of clip away at these little remainders of kind of like the growth that died back. And of course, need a water catch tray. I do like to water through, and so I'm gonna add some distilled water here, and hopefully this is going to quickly show me where I might need more soil. I do see a few spots that opened up, so I'll just go ahead and fill those in as I go. Try to avoid air pockets. Now I'm just gonna add a little bit of distilled water to this tray and get out my neem oil. This is some that I found on Amazon that has a high azadirachtin content. It was actually labeled as kind of a beauty product, good for nails and hair and skin. So interesting, sometimes what's good for our plants can also be good for us when it comes to oils. I definitely don't recommend doing this with a clarified neem oil. That's a totally different process, of course, so I'd definitely be wearing gloves if that was the case. I'm just going over the front and the backs of the leaves. So that is my white tiger done. My house is looking so much better as I'm going through this series and getting each of the Calathea in my collection taken care of. Because if you know the scope of my collection, there is a lot to do, and I have a visual reminder of it daily. I want to thank those of you who are coming with me on this journey, leaving me lots of advice in the comments, giving me encouragement. It has meant a lot to me because I really have been afraid I'm going to kill some of my plants. I haven't killed a plant yet. Maybe feeling a little too confident, but I'm excited to do another video next week and just keep on getting my collection back in shape. Until then, be well and take care.